going to share two lines with you. The first is from the second Harry Potter book. Hermione says something, then it says, "Said Hermione, sounding as usual as though she had swallowed the textbook." Here's the second line, and it would be more along the lines of something that I felt I would have put into my own book. Said Hermione, sounding as if she had memorized the textbook. Now, the second line isn't terrible. It is still descriptive and shows Hermione's character, right? That she reads a lot and memorizes the textbook and knows all the answers. But the first line is so descriptive and concrete and really helps you visualize what Hermione is like without actually telling you that she memorized something. It's very show, don't tell. It conveys the same information, but in a way that is a lot more memorable and funny. When I finished the first book of my Rapunzel retelling, the very first novel that I ever finished, it was not good. There was a lot that could be improved on, and I'm really happy now with a lot of the big picture edits that I've done, especially in regards to character arc and story structure after reading Save the Cat Writes a Novel. Reading The Magic Words by Cheryl B. Klein, especially with the side-by-side examples that she gives, helped me to target another area of my writing that needs a lot of improvement. And that is the line-by-line way that my sentences are structured. Since then, I can't help but notice some of the lines, like the Hermione swallowing the textbook, in different books that I read. This is one of the next areas of my writing that I really want to improve. While this book was super helpful for me, overall I rated it 3 stars. The beginning was my very favorite section of the book. And even probably just the first 10 pages, I got enough out of it that it was worth buying this and reading it. A lot of this had to do with the line format and sentence structure, a lot more of the line editing versus the big picture that I haven't actually delved into quite as much yet. I will be keeping my copy of this book, if only just to study that section of the book again. It also has some really useful stuff near the beginning of the book that talks more about like age classification and things like middle grade versus YA, more than I've actually seen, and it was actually really helpful to me in figuring out things like what my Rapunzel retelling was, because I always thought that it was YA, but then it actually might be more middle grade, and that's really useful to know if I'm going to actually query it and things like that. And so it had some really useful information in it. The one thing that I didn't like about it is a big book. For a craft book, I think it is 345 pages long, and the pages have some small text on them, and there's not a lot of, there are some sections where it has things like that, but for the most part it really is just her talking, and not that I didn't enjoy that, but it just covers such a broad, wide range of topics. I'd rather have had her go deep on what she started talking about and focus on the words aspect versus just going so broad that it was basically just any writing topic that she could think of she covered in this book. For me, that often feels like a waste of time because I already know a lot of what she is talking about because I'm not a beginner writer. I have read a lot of craft books and watched a lot of AuthorTube and things like that, and so while I'm still trying to put the things that they talk about into practice, a lot of the things that they talk about, I'm like, I don't need to know more about point of view or third person versus first person. I don't need to read a chapter about that. But then because I'm sitting down to read it and I'm marking that I'm reading it on Goodreads and stuff, I don't feel like I can just skip over it, and so then it feels like a waste of time to me. Maybe I just need to not count craft books as reading and use them more as like study guides or something. I don't know, maybe that would help me. But I much prefer craft books that go deep on what they're talking about rather than wide on a broad range of writing topics. And this was definitely a book that was a broad writing topic book. So it would be good if you are a beginner and you want to learn more about those things. But then I feel like if you are a beginner, you maybe shouldn't be starting with line editing and sentence structure, because that's stuff that you can fix later. You need the bones first, and so then I would recommend things like Save the Cat Writes a Novel or Story Genius versus this book. So then it feels like she's targeting beginners, but I actually don't think that this is the best book for beginners to start with. She does have a section on story structure, and it is good, and so it's not a terrible book to start with if you're a beginner. I do prefer Save the Cat Writes a Novel, and the way that that story structure is presented, but I also am a little bit biased because Save the Cat Writes a Novel is the first story structure book I read, and so I'm just biased in that it was my introduction to it. One note that isn't necessarily negative or positive, but just something that I noticed, a lot of the craft books that I've picked up tend to be written by outliners or more orderly people who will suggest that you outline, and she is not an outliner. She even in the book says that she finds it useful to write her first draft first and then go back and figure out structure and things. And so if you are a pantser who is finding it hard to find craft books to relate to because they're written by people who are telling you to outline, then this one might be a little more relatable to you, because she is more of a pantser and puts kind of structure and all of the stuff that I try and do in outlining. She does that after she writes her first draft. And then just ending on a positive note, one of the things that I really loved about this book were the examples, especially when she's talking about sentence structure and things like that. Her examples were so useful and really left me understanding what she was trying to say and helped me understand how I could apply this in my own writing. And a lot of her examples are short and sweet in the sentence structure section, and so I really loved that about this book as well. Yeah, so this would be a book that I would recommend to beginners, or if you want to learn more about sentence structure, then you could get it to study just the beginning of the book, but know that a lot of the stuff that comes later is going to be more for beginners. It's the kind of book that you could get and you could kind of look through and see if it's a topic that you're interested in learning more about, and then skip if not, but it's not one that I would recommend reading cover to cover unless you are a very, very beginner writer, because it's going to have a lot of stuff that you already know in it. Overall, I did appreciate what I got out of it, and I am going to use it to improve my writing, and I am glad that I read it. In the comments below, I would love to hear what your favorite writing craft book is, and if I haven't read it yet, then I would love to go and check it out. I have gotten some great recommendations here on my channel so far that I have gotten really useful stuff from. So leave your comment in the comment section below and we can chat more about writing craft books and just writing in general. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe for lots of writing content. If you're interested in following my reading journey, you can check out my Goodreads. I do leave a review for every book I read there. And you can also follow my Instagram for my favorite books and also more about my writing journey on my Instagram account, and I will leave both of those in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching my video. I will see you in the next one.